Welcome to Maryland Medicine Frontline News, highlighting faculty, staff, and students who are fighting COVID-19 on the front lines of research and clinical care. Coming up, new approaches in basic science research may lead to new treatments for the most severe COVID-19 symptoms. But first, a look at how the pandemic is affecting students and trainees. Dr. Reese?
All right, I would say that our students have been extraordinary. They have been through a whole lot. And what has impressed me so much is the fact that they've been able to transition from an in-person educational style to online literally on a dime. And they've done it with such grace and effectiveness. So I want to particularly reach out to them and say congratulations, first of all, particularly those who are graduating. The class of 2020, this is a very special year in many respects. And they have been extraordinary. They, I think, are well positioned to be very successful physicians and scientists in the years to come. Residents and fellows are equally impacted with the COVID virus pandemic. But what, again, that I find to be just encouraging, exciting, and impressive is the way they have responded. They have been asked to be on the front lines, and they have done so with great resolve, great resilience, and in a way that I think that they will never forget this experience and no doubt will have a tremendous impact on their entire careers.
General surgery residents were abruptly detoured from their training to help care for COVID-19 patients.
For the ones who have been critically ill in our biocontainment units, I was just up there yesterday, for example, they are all so critically ill and they're ill for weeks. And getting in such intensive care and doing the best we can, but they're not awake. They are on these very high ventilator settings. And I think that while some of them clearly do improve, it's been really tough when you're critically ill like that.
Like many frontline healthcare providers, residents risk exposure to COVID-19, even when treating patients who come to the hospital for other reasons.
We were preparing to do our surgical procedure on this patient after I'd saw them the night prior. As soon as the COVID test came back positive that morning, yesterday morning, I immediately went and got tested, had to go home, quarantine myself. The test came back negative, mine last evening. And because I don't have symptoms, I'm back at work today.
The hardest parts for me have been when someone has expired and I've had to call their family member and tell them that they cannot come into the hospital to see their loved one. Or when their loved one is ill, but not critically ill and not dying, and saying that we're here taking good care of them. We'll try to get you a FaceTime set up, but no, you cannot come in to see your loved one. Saying that over and over again, every time a trauma comes in, is a little knife that goes to my heart. And that part has been very devastating. I've just never had to experience something like this.
What's been the most surprising thing about the severity of COVID-19 to you?
It's in the way it's impacted all of us and our loneliness and who we are as humans. What I see and what I hear and what I feel myself is I miss people and I miss reaching out and touching my friends and, my co-residents. We're a family. So to have to socially distance from each other has been hard.
Everyone has kind of stepped up. Everyone in the hospital has been incredible, from the nurses to the ancillary staff, the respiratory therapists. Everyone's just really been wonderful and available.
My co-residents are so amazing. They have pulled together and they've united around this cause, and to say what needs to be done, we'll get it done. How can we help? We'll do it. How can we stay safe? Let's do it. I've been so proud to be part of this team in particular.
The pandemic has catalyzed frontline research at the School of Medicine, generating new approaches to address the complications that develop for critically ill patients. For example, Dr. Mark Simard is developing more relevant disease models and exploring repurposed pharmaceuticals to discover possible treatments for severe lung symptoms.
That includes the development of what's called acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is one of the steps beyond simple pneumonia that actually threatens life. And part of that is related to the development of a severe inflammatory response. And part of that is related to the development of a phenomenon called cytokine storm. This is an overexuberant inflammatory response, immune response. So fundamentally, of course, an immune response is very important to keep us as healthy as we are. And without an immune response, we would succumb very rapidly to these kinds of infections. The problem becomes when it gets too exuberant. All of that is bad, and we are trying to take that part of the now known biology of COVID-19 into account in our development of models. The other thing is to utilize the spike protein from SARS-CoV-2 itself as part of our disease model. The other part of the work that we're engaged in is to try to examine the utility of repurposed pharmaceuticals for treatment of ARDS and cytokine storm.
You can stay up to date by visiting the Coronavirus Update page on the School of Medicine website. Until next week, I'm Larry Roberts for the University of Maryland School of Medicine.